Hello everyone! Recently I've been watching a ton of those ranking videos that rank every killer on some niche aspect, like how their relationship with the entity is, or how brutal they are as a killer. I love these videos, but one thing I think would be funny would be to ramp up how silly the ranking was to 11. So today, that's just what we'll be doing. I will be listing out how I think every killer eats their cereal, because why not, I guess. If you enjoy videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe, as it helps me out a ton. In no particular order, let us begin with the Trapper. Within his lore, Trapper is an artist who is slowly changed by his overwhelming daddy issues. His whole thing was a mass murder by causing in a cave-in with his father's mine, and because of this, I think Trapper treats himself to a bowl of metal shavings and gravel, with the milk replaced with whiskey. Wraith is a tough one, because throughout his lore he is slowly dehumanized, so he probably doesn't have much of a preference when it comes to cereal. Because of this, I imagine when he is in the cereal aisle, he chooses whatever is the most bland, something like simple Cheerios, not even the Honey Nut kind, just glorified crackers. On top of this, he probably has them with water, as milk has too much flavor. Hillbilly is where we get weird. I can't remember whether or not he ever dabbles in cannibalism in his lore, but I don't believe it's impossible. He does, however, have a habit of killing pigs, and there's no way he lets their body go to waste, so I imagine his cereal is a mixture of raw grain he gets from his farm and pig chunks, with the milk being unpurified raw cow milk. Yummy! Nurse would probably have a relatively normal cereal order, something simple, honey bunches of oats or something like that. However, I do think she would only eat them if she was allowed to clean or purify the cereal and milk beforehand. I think Huntress would certainly take some serious convincing to try cereal, but I think that she would absolutely lose her mind once tasting something like Fruit Loops, as I can't imagine she's had a lot of sugar in her life. That, included with the milk that she's also likely never had, it would be pretty eye-opening for her. The Legion obviously has normal cereal orders. Not only are they the target demographic for cereal, but they also have likely had a lot of it in their life before the realm. I mean, the entity took them after their murder in the gas station corner store. What's to say they didn't grab a box of Frosted Flakes on their way in? I think Frank and Julie would share a bowl of Frosted Flakes, Susie would have something more colorful, like Fruity Pebbles, and Joey would have something more modest, like Honey Nut Cheerios. Whatever they have, I will also argue that there is a strong chance they will have their cereal with Monster instead of milk. At first, I thought the Demogorgon wouldn't really have cereal, but after watching season 2 to 3 of Stranger Things, I think it's entirely possible that it would be a fan of it regardless. After all, Duncan was able to feed the baby Demogorgon, Dart, things like candy bars, so what's to say it wouldn't like cereal too? The Death Slinger would have a very similar meal to Trapper, metal shavings with whiskey, but I imagine he has a little more self-respect than Trapper. I think Death Slinger would only eat the metal shavings he got from sharpening his harpoon or something, and I mean, have you seen his teeth? There is no way he is eating something healthy or hearty. I don't think Pyramid Head can even eat at all. We don't know if the pyramid can even come off. I think he would be another bland Cheerios and water kinda guy, but I think that the water would actually be James Sutherland's tears. Also important to mention, he has a big knife, so what's to say he wouldn't eat his cereal with a big spoon? The Trickster would likely enjoy cereal. I bet he thinks that the cereal is below him though, and won't eat it while other people are looking. It's likely that he was with his victims for a while, so I think it's reasonable that he would take breaks from the endless torture with his nice snack of granola with milk. The Nemesis might not have taste buds anymore. I don't really think he has much of a preference either way. Maybe he'd have like pieces of STARS members or something gruesome, but other than that, I really don't even know if he needs to eat at all. Wesker, however, loves cereal. He probably eats whatever the most expensive cereal he can find since he thinks he only deserves the best. I can see him funding research into genetically perfect cereal, like the healthiest whole wheat they can find and the most protein-packed milk in the world. He may seem sophisticated, but in reality, he just wants his Sunday morning bowl of cereal. Chucky is probably on the cereal box. A Fruit Loops Chucky crossover where you get like one good guy keychain and one in every 500 boxes is very realistic, and I think Chucky would absolutely eat it too. He's a fucked up little guy, but he needs breaks, so the idea of him sitting with Andy in the mornings and stealing a bite every now and then, it feels good. Xenomorph is a similar story to Demogorgon, however I don't think they are nearly as patient as the Demogorgon is. Maybe you could coax it into having a bite, or a tiny bite depending on which mouth it used, but I doubt it would care that much and would just continue hunting you. Singularity would be similar to Wesker. continuing to look for the perfect cereal. But unlike Wesker, I don't think he would be as excited about it. Singularity is obviously less human than Wesker, and probably deemed the sense of taste unnecessary, and has since gotten rid of his. I can, however, imagine a branded version of tiny biopods that taste similar to Fruit Loops being made that would probably taste wonderful. Skull Merchant, similar to Leechin, would have a very normal cereal order. As we can see on her map, she has a lot of normal human things, like video games, anime, and a place to relax. I think her favorite cereal would be any type of cereal that had one of those neat futuristic spy toys like the Code Breakers they had in the 2000s. I'm also getting Cookie Crisp vibes. I have no idea why. Admittedly, Knight and his ghost gang, TM, are the killers I know the least about. I know they were generally stinky guys, and I know that they were pseudo-bounty hunters of the medieval times, but other than that, I don't really know anything about them and their personalities or goals. However, they do seem very wacky when in game, so maybe they could be the goofy mascots for a cereal band somewhere. The Dredge is another weird one since it really isn't one thing, and is made up of an entire town's worth of people, so I suppose its choice of cereal would be like whatever the average preference of the every person within him liked, if that makes sense. I guess the average cereal would be like Frosted Flakes or Honey Nut Cheerios or something. The real question is which mouth it would use to even eat the cereal in the first place. The Onryo, Sadako, could maybe enjoy some cereal. Rotting at the bottom of a well isn't great for one's mental state. Even if she was saved, maybe part of her healing process would involve some cereal. I think she would like Cocoa Pebbles, and I have no reason for that. But I can imagine her chowing down a bowl at like 4 a.m. because, I mean, there's no way there's always someone who's watched the tape. She's gotta have free time, you know? The artist would definitely eat cereal, but I think she would avoid cereal brands made by big companies, as she was vehemently against that in her life. She would have cereal made by the small businesses, made by a family friend, and honestly, more power to her. She would take huge offense to Circle K and Kellogg's owning like 90% of all the cereals. Pinhead, he would have a fucked up order for his cereal, let's just be real. It would be like razor blades with acid or something miserable. His whole thing is pleasure in pain, so his cereal would definitely follow that ideology. I don't have much else to say about him because I find his character boring as hell. The twins would likely love cereal. I can imagine Charlotte sharing a bowl of Chex Mix with Victor that she keeps in her bag. They would both really enjoy cereal, and I imagine she would maybe get the cereals from any homes she pillaged, or in her survival efforts. So yeah, something simple, like and grounded, like Chex Mix or Honey Bunches of Oats for Charlotte, and something sweet like Cocoa Pebbles for Victor. The Blight barely has a jaw, so I don't think he would be able to eat any cereal. If he could, however, his cereal would definitely be filled with the serum he carries around, since I'm fairly confident he needs it to live. His whole obsession with the entity would be funny to tie in as well. I imagine if he found cereal and liked it enough, he would use it as one of his offerings to the entity to praise it. Dione does not have time for cereal, but if he had to choose, I think he'd have something very simple like granola, as he probably only looks at food as energy for killing more people. If he did have granola, he might enjoy making it himself by smashing it into bits in anger with his kanabo or something like that. In the Ghostfaces trailer, he seems to be in a sort of grocery hardware store. He always gave off a very silly vibe almost, and I think cereal would follow this, being something like Fruity Pebbles or Fruit Loops. I can see him kicking back with a newspaper of his latest murder, accompanied by a nice flavor-blasted bowl of an overly sugary cereal. I do not wish to talk about the plague for very long because she disgusts me. Whether she likes it this way or not, whatever her cereal preferences is, would always end up full of vomit. Maybe she would have a disgusting cereal too, something like Kix. God, I hate Kix. Spirit was a regular kid in school, so she's another person who would have a pretty normal cereal preference. She would enjoy something sweet, as it would temporarily distract her from her overwhelming and record-breaking daddy issues. The clown is another disgusting guy who would have a disgusting food preference. I mean, I think we all know what his substitute for cereal would be, so let's not dwell on him for too long. The real question is how good of a substitute either of his concoctions would be for milk. My guess is not good. The pig is another chill and regular cereal haver, probably enjoying something simple like Frosted Flakes. She might be a bit paranoid around her cereal, and probably checks everything she eats for traps. and she might even have trapped a bowl of cereal herself before. The enjoyable experience that is eating cereal is really sullied when you have a reverse bear trap on your head. Freddy is a dream demon, so whatever he gets for cereal is whatever his victims dream into existence. Freddy's personal preference doesn't matter anyway, since he can't really get it. Maybe I don't understand how his whole situation and powers work, but I don't really care to find out, as his character is gross, weird, and bad enough to not really be entertaining. I mean, do we really need to talk about what Leatherface has for cereal? Do we really need to converse about this? You all know. You all know what his deal is, and we don't need to bother speculating on anything around what he eats. Let's just say he prefers chili over cereal. The hag was also a teen before she was taken. She went to school and was relatively normal, not killing anyone except for her kidnappers. Her whole thing was being eternally hungry, even stopping to drink the survivors' blood after hitting them in game, so whatever her cereal preference is, she eats as much of it as she possibly can, and she probably still won't feel like it's enough. Also, yes, I'm aware she is also big into the whole cannibalism thing, but she clearly is into it a little less than Leatherface is, so I'm not too worried about her. The Doctor is a weird one to pin down since he doesn't really have a whole lot of personality other than fucked up guy. My guess is, if he did eat cereal, it would probably be something boring, as he would want to get back to his experiments quickly, and he would also probably doesn't even have any taste buds left from all of the electroshock therapy. Our penultimate character is our good old boy Michael Myers, who it's unclear if he even needs to eat or not. In his most recent movies, he's shown to be weak, so I guess it's realistic for him to have eaten something, but I doubt it was cereal. He certainly hasn't bought any cereal, that's for sure, as he seems to just kill anybody he sees. Maybe he has eaten cereal before, but I doubt he had much preference about it. And last but not least, the unknown. And the answer is pretty anticlimactic. When I would go camping as a kid, we would bring those tiny versions of cereal to eat, and I think that it would be funny if it would take those from its camper victims. It's unclear what it even is, but I like the idea that it's an alien, and it's just taking everything it can to study and learn, so who's to say it's never taken one of those little cereals for itself? If it did eat them, it probably ate the box too. And that's it. I appreciate you all for watching something silly like this, as it's not my usual content. If you disagree with any of my silly ideas, you can leave your ideas down below, and while you're down there, you should leave a like as well. Anyways, thank you to our members, Q3W3E3, Valent0725, A Brief Gamer, Shadowchi, Supreme Vero, Soap, Eggy, Nia, and the_Radiance for supporting the channel like that. If you'd like to support the channel like they did, you absolutely can, but if you don't want to support me with any money, that's always fine. You can always just like, subscribe, join the Discord, or check me out on Twitch. Other than that, I will see you later. Bye-bye.